Project Uplift Literacy, in their words, my voice, address to the citizens of New Jersey, Dr. John S. Rock, year 1850. I simply love the spirit of John S. Rock. He could have lived at any time during the past 166 years and still would be relevant. His words would still be captivating and just as powerful. Philadelphia dentist John S. Rock would eventually become a medical doctor and attorney who in 1865 would become the first African-American lawyer to argue a case before the Supreme Court of the United States. In 1850, however, he was an abolitionist and civil rights activist. In that year, 25-year-old Rock gave a speech in neighboring New Jersey where he called upon the state's white residents to treat the disfranchised portion of the legal taxpayers of that state fairly by extending them the right to vote. Please go to my blog for this morning's selection of In Their Words, My Voice, www.joesmokeblackthoughts.com. Here we go. Citizens, in addressing you in favor of a disenfranchised portion of the legal taxpayers of New Jersey, I feel from the success of our enterprise has already been crowned with that intelligence, humanity, and justice may be styled characteristics of the citizens of the state. Knowing then that I am speaking to an intelligent and human people who believe that noble sentiments set forth in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created free and equal, etc., etc., I take the liberty of speaking freely to you, being one of the disenfranchised, and I do not believe your hearts are so callous as to not to listen to the voice of the oppressed. Although the above declaration declares that all men are created free and equal, those noble words in their common acceptance do not and cannot apply to the disenfranchised people that I am speaking of, because indirectly you deny the disenfranchised people are men. You say that all men are created free and equal, and at the same time you deny that equality, which is nothing more nor less than denying our manhood. If we are not free and equal, according to the Declaration of Independence, we are not men, because all men are created free and equal. We confess that there is something about this that we could never understand. We are denied our rights as men, at the same time are taxed in common with yourselves and obliged to support the government in her denunciations. If we are not men, why are we dealt with as such when we do not pay our taxes or when we infringe the laws? Whenever we become delinquent in the one or a transgressor in the other, there is then no question about our manhood. We are treated as men to all intents and purposes. If we are men when our taxes are due, and men when we transgress the laws, we are men when our taxes are not due, and we do not transgress the laws. There are many reasons why colored men should be enfranchised. We have never been reared in this state and are acquainted with, we have been reared in this state and are quite acquainted with her institutions. Our fidelity to this country has never been questioned. We have done nothing to cause our disenfranchisement. On the contrary, we have done all a people could do to entitle them to be enfranchised. It is said that there is not sufficient intelligence amongst us to warrant the restoration of those rights, and that we are not sufficiently acquainted with the government, etc. But they do not say we do not have sufficient intelligence and knowledge of the government to warrant us to pay our taxes because we cannot thoroughly understand how the money goes. If we who have always been with you do not understand something of the regulations of this country, how miserably ignorant are the thousands of voters who arrive in this country annually who know nothing of this government but little of any government. There is no plea and apology for you to shut every avenue to elevation and then complain of degradation. What else can be expected? While we are looked upon as things and treated worse than unthinking animals. In the Revolution, colored soldiers fought side by side with you in your struggles for liberty, and there is not a battlefield from Maine to Georgia which has not been christened by our blood and whitened by our bones. In 1814, a bill passed the legislature of New York accepting the services of 2,000 colored volunteers. In the battle on Lake Erie, Commodore Perry's fleet was manned chiefly by colored seamen. Many black sailors served under Commodore McDonough when he conquered Lake Champlain. Many were in the battles of Plattsburgh and Hackett's Harbor. General Jackson called out the colored troops from Louisiana and Alabama in a solemn proclamation attest to their fidelity and courage. But some of our enemies say, you better go back to Africa. We ask why. They say we cannot rise in this country. The prejudices are too strong to overcome. That we better be kings among beggars than beggars among kings. As neither of these positions is inevitable, we will not quarrel with the beggary or kingly conditions. We think as these Tertullian philanthropists who try to make people believe we can never rise in this country and that money must be raised by appropriation or otherwise to extricate us. Would do well to hold their peace and give their extra change to the poor and immigrate to the country of their forefathers as quickly as possible and take their incendiary reports along with them. Africa is urged upon us as a country of our forefathers. If this is good sophistry, and we think it will pass, then it will follow that all men must go back to the country of their forefathers. In this case, blacks will go to Africa and the whites to Europe. And where will the mixed races go? We suppose in such event they would occupy the intermediate, that is the Mediterranean Sea. And what would become of the Indians? Would they go to the country of their forefathers? If so, where is it? The sophistry of not designed to aggravate any but the descendants of European nations. Africa is the country for the Africans, their descendants and mongrels of various colors. Asia, the country for the Asiatics. The East Indies is the place for the Malays. Patagonia, the country for the Indian. And any place the white man chooses to go, his country. That's Project Uplift Literacy for a Wednesday. Have a great day. I love Dr. John S. Rock.